We are just about to do our mix flow, so I don't think you'll need any equipment today. If you're a little bit stuck in your hips, you might need a little block for underneath your bum when we do some oblique lifts, and you might need a TheraBand, but you probably won't. So come and lie on your backs. Okay, so start with your feet hip distance apart, and we're just going to work on our connection, posture and breath. So we should be feeling connected underneath both our feet, the lumbosacral junction, TL junction, back of the shoulders and the back of the head. So let's start with the feet, and we're just going to think about where we're feeling that connection. And if you're feeling it more on one foot than the other, you're just going to shift your weight from side to side until you can feel like you've got better balance between the right and left foot. And then you're going to think about whereabouts you're feeling that connection on each individual foot. So can you feel like there's more pressure going on the outside of the foot or more on the inside? So if you're feeling it more on the outside of your foot, we're just going to try and bring that inner arch down to the floor by pushing the big toe into the floor, but don't curl up the outer four toes. And you should just feel that inner arch starting to work. If you're feeling it more on the inner arch, then you're going to do the opposite. You're going to try and bring the outer arch down towards the floor, but you want to keep that big toe connected with the floor. Make sure the knees are pointing straight up to the ceiling and the ankles are still neutral, so you don't want to take the knees out to the side or knees coming in. Knees are going straight up to the ceiling. Oh, I think she might be trying to join. Hi Sam, we've just started, so just lay on your back. Just starting with connection, posture and breath. We've just done the feet, so just try and get a little bit of balance between the right and left foot, and then try and bring your big toe pressing into the floor. So we're just trying to get equal balance between the left and right foot, and we're trying to get that equal connection from the inner arch to the outer arch by just pressing the big toe down towards the floor. Okay, so then we're just going to work up to the lumbosacral junction, and what we want to do is we want to start by peeling the spine away from the floor, and the pelvis is going to tilt forwards, and then we're going to reverse peel down into the floor, and the pelvis is going to tilt backwards. So we're just going to rock the pelvis forwards and backwards, peeling the spine away from the floor and then reverse peeling into the floor. So just go between those two movements, forwards and backwards, and then you're just going to pause in the midpoint between the two end ranges. So your lower back should be flat on the floor now, there should be no gap underneath your back, so if you put your hands underneath there you're not going to feel any gap there. But equally, your back shouldn't be caved into the floor. And now your lumbosacral junction, the junction between your lower back and pelvis, should feel like it's got better connection with the floor. And then we're going to go up to the TL junction, so think of your ribcage and pelvis like the pages of a book. We want to pull the pages close so that they're parallel with each other. What we don't want is this open book appearance, so we'll get this rib flaring and lumbar extension, so have a feel of what your ribs are doing, and if you feel like they're lifting up towards the ceiling, up towards your head, you're just going to try and close the pages of the book to bring them into connection with the pelvis, but don't tense the tummy muscles to do it. We're trying to use those oblique muscles to bring the rib cage down. And now your TL junction should be feeling more connected with the floor. So then we're going to work our way up to the shoulder blades. So they want to be equal from side to side again, so just shift your weight from side to side until you can feel like there's better balance. And then think about what your shoulders are doing. Are they lifting up by your ears and pushing forwards? We want them to be in a more neutral position, so we're going to bring them back towards the mat or towards the floor, but don't pin them towards the floor. And we're going to try and externally rotate and depress the shoulders as if they're coming down to the back pocket on the same side. So you should feel the muscles around the back and underneath the shoulder coming alive to bring the shoulder blades down towards the back pockets. And then we're going to move up to the head. So the back of the head wants to push straight back down towards the floor. We don't want to tilt the head backwards or have it come forwards. It's going straight back down, looking straight up towards the ceiling, and those muscles at the front of the neck should switch on. Okay, so once we've got our connection, put one hand on the chest and one hand on the tummy. And we're just going to try and think about getting our breath in the right order first of all. So with the breath in, the hand on the tummy is going to lift. With the breath out, the hand on the tummy is going to lower. Hand on the chest doesn't want to move anywhere, so that stays completely still. So just try and focus on what's happening and try and focus all your energy on that hand on the tummy lifting and lowering on the breath in and out. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, pursed lips. Imagine that you're blowing through a straw. Keep pushing your big toe down into the floor as well, so keep that inner arch active. You might start feeling like that arch is cramping up a bit. That's okay, just like relax off a little bit, and then when it's eased, you're just going to push your big toe down again. So when you feel like you've got the breath in the right order, place your hands around your waist. The fingertips want to sort of dig in around the front, whether the hands around the sides, and then the thumbs are going to try and get into the back. And what we're trying to feel now is all those muscles around the abdominal wall expand outwards as we breathe in. So 360-degree breath. If you're struggling to feel that, I want you to just cough. So do a big cough and feel all those muscles expand and lift and push the hands away. And now I want you to think about those muscles doing exactly the same thing as you're breathing in. So think about inflating those muscles to try and push your hands away. And they want to be equal from front to back and from side to side. So imagine there's a balloon in there that you're pumping up, and that balloon is going to expand 360 degrees. You can do it in stages, so if you want to just think about the muscles at the front initially inflating, just give them a prod. When you've woken those ones up, you're going to dig into the side. Feel those expanding. And when you've got the front and the sides, you're going to dig into the back and imagine those muscles are pushing your thumbs towards the floor. And then try and tie everything in together so it's happening all at once. Keep pushing the big toe into the floor. But the outer toes want to be more relaxed. Okay, so once we've got the 360 breath, we're going to work on our brace. And when I say brace, we're not clenching, we're not tensing, we're not pulling the belly button in towards the spine. It's an outward push. So we're going to create your 360 breath. And then before you take your breath out, you're going to create that feeling like when you're about to fart, so an outward push. And then try not to let the muscles completely relax as you're breathing out. You want to feel that all the way around the abdominal wall. So this is your brace breathe or your brace breath. So when you're doing something that needs more stabilisation, you will need to create a brace breathe or a brace breath, and the amount that you'll need to create just depends on what it is you're doing at the time. So if you're doing something that needs more stabilisation, you'll need more of that brace breath. If you're doing something with less, you won't need as much. Okay, so I want you to start by just taking the arms backwards. So we're just flexing the shoulders, keeping the rib cage and pelvis connected, thumbs pointed towards the floor as you go backwards, and then bring them back, like down to the floor. As we're going, taking the hands over the head, we're thinking about what the rib cage and pelvis are doing. If they're starting to disconnect, so if you're starting to go into this rib flare position or the open book or open scissors position, you want to just pause in that position, take another breath in, and then as you're breathing out, try and lower the arms a little bit further back. So we're just flexing and extending the shoulders at the minute. This movement's just coming through the shoulder, so we want to make sure that we're not lifting the ribs, extending the lower back, shrugging the shoulders. We don't want the neck going into extension, so we're just pushing the head straight back down towards the floor. Big toe still pushing into the floor. And then we're just going to leave the arms back, and then what we're going to do is lift up one of the legs and one of the arms, and we're going to try and touch the toe. So it's opposite arm, opposite leg, and so you'll need to lift the pelvis off the floor slightly as you're, unless you've got really great flexibility. So I'm lifting my pelvis slightly, but controlling that movement. So opposite hand to opposite foot. As you bring in your leg up, take it into slight external rotation and abduction in the hip. Nice, slow and controlled movements. Then depending on how your back is, what I want you to do now is you're going to bring both legs, both feet together, both feet, both hands towards each other. So nice and controlled. You'll need to use the sort of lower abdominals and obliques to lift up the legs. be able to touch. But like I say, if your back's not too good at the minute, just carry on doing the alternating arm and leg. So as we're bringing the legs up and lowering them down, try not to let the pelvis tilt anterior. Really control this movement so you're not just throwing your legs up in the air. Bringing the legs up and using our core to get them that little bit further, to get our hands touching our toes. Just do a couple more. And then we're going to pause, and I want you to try and grab hold of your feet. So we're in this 6-month supine position. If you can't grab hold of your feet, then you might want to get hold of a TheraBand to put around your feet so that you can hold onto the TheraBand either side. And we're just going to focus on our breath and also trying to lengthen through the hamstrings. So what you want to try and do is keep your hips in this flex position. We don't just want to extend the hips to push the feet up to the ceiling. We want to try and keep the hips flexed and lengthen the hamstrings by bringing the feet more towards the head. So breathe in, and then on the exhalation, try and just get a little bit more length through the back of the hamstrings. Keep pushing the head into the back, into the floor, so try not to let the neck extend. Just a couple more breaths. Bring your feet away from the hands, back into this 3-month supine, so feet higher than the knees. Knees over the hips, hips externally rotated and abducted, and you want your ankles to be in a neutral position. Then you're going to put your hands up into the sky, take a breath in, and you're going to lift your head and look to the direction you're going to roll, and you're going to roll onto your side, nice, slow and controlled, and then put onto the back, and then bring the hands to the floor and feet to the floor, and then bring them back into the middle, and then you're going to roll the other way. Come back, hands and feet touch the floor, keeping the rib cage and pelvis connected, and slowly the opposite way. Make sure that the shoulders and the pelvis are moving at the same time, so we're not getting that disconnection. Imagine you've got a Lego body, and imagine as well that you've got a really straight spine, so what we don't want is to roll onto our side and be in a banana position. So we're keeping nice and long through the spine. Nice and slow, nice and controlled. Don't rush the movement, don't let your body just flop to the floor, and don't just throw yourself back. Just do a couple more. And then you're going to roll onto your side. And from the side position, so if you lie with the back of your arm pressing into the floor, so the back of the hands in the floor, then we're going to roll up into lower oblique sit and into high oblique sit. So we're going to take the arm from being the back of the arm and we're going to roll up onto our hand and up into a high oblique sit. And then you're going to go the reverse, so you're going to lower the arm down into a lower oblique sit and then lower back onto our side. And so you're going to take the hand to the back of the arm again. And then we're going to come up into a high oblique sit, so through the lower oblique sit as well. And we want to try and keep the shoulder really strong and active so that we're not just like pushing the shoulder forwards to get us up. So we want to slowly up and down. And make sure we've got a nice straight spine as well. So we're keeping solid through here, we're keeping our core active. So slowly lower down. So just going up and down. Really working those shoulder muscles. Just do a couple more. And then come into your high oblique sit. And we're just going to press the hand into the floor, keep the fingers spread wide, keep the shoulder active, and we're just going to lift up into the tripod position. So we're going to bring that back leg round into a tripod, and then we're going to go back into high oblique sit, and then back round into tripod. So keep the spine nice and long while you're doing this, and we're really focusing on controlling that movement as we come round and as we lower that down, and keeping that shoulder, that supporting shoulder active, and keeping the hand completely flat in the floor, so we don't want the hand to curl upwards, so we're keeping that connection. Similar to when I tell you to press your big toe into the floor, I want you to push your thumb and second finger down into the floor. And don't let the outer fingers claw up. So try and bring your leg all the way around so it's in the same sort of direction as your hand. So you're not kind of ending up here, we want to bring it all the way around so it's in the same kind of, yeah. And then what we're going to do now is, rather than going from an oblique sit into a lift into a high kneel this way, I want you to try and lift and spin round so you're facing the opposite direction. and then bring it round, so you're coming back and down. So you're lifting up and try and spin around into a high kneel on the opposite direction. And lower that down. And make sure when we get into that high kneel, the pelvis is level with the floor, and then the foot's not too narrow. And then what I want you to do now is follow through from one of these lifts into a high kneel and then into a stand. So you're going to lift, spin around, pelvis level with the floor, and you're going to stand from that position. Then take the leg back into your high kneel again. It's really slow and controlled. Bring that leg back round into your oblique sit again. So lift, spin round, pelvis level with the floor, neutral spine, stand. So I'm just trying to give you different ways of getting up off the floor. So rather than just kind of, I don't even know how to get off the floor badly anymore, but I see so many people kind of coming up and just pushing themselves up on the knee and the knee caving in. So I'm just trying to give you different ways of getting up off the floor. So keep doing that movement. Make sure that as we're standing, the pelvis stays level, the knee doesn't collapse inwards, so we want that knee to contract the second and third toe, and we want to try and make sure the pelvis doesn't shoot out to the side. And then as we're lowering back down, nice and slow and controlled, just do a couple more of these. Okay, down into your oblique sit, and then we're just going to rotate the knees from side to side. So we're coming from one oblique sit, swiveling the knees round, up into a tall sit, and then over to the opposite side. And then just going from side to side. And try and, when you're in the middle in this tall sit, make sure you're nice and long so you're not rounded like this. So go from side to side. Feel those rotation movements in the hips. Try and make sure the spine's nice and long as well, so not just collapsing. So this is where you might need something underneath your bottom, so make sure you're not bananaed. And then I want you to just come into your tall sit, nice and long through the spine, and just try and lean backwards. Keeping that spine nice and straight, and we're just going to hold that position. Keep long, hold in that position. If you want, try and go a little bit further if you can. Nice and long through the spine. Keep focusing on your breath. More seconds. And then come up. And we're going to go round to the opposite side. And we'll just do that sequence again. So we're just going to lower down from the high oblique sit to low oblique sit and then onto your side. And then back up into high oblique sit. Nice. So, use the arm to get you up. So when we lay on our side, we'll be arm on the back of the arm, and then we're just going to rotate round so the hands flat on the floor. Again, try and keep the spine nice and long so we're not just bananaing. Keep that shoulder active so we're not just pushing the shoulder forwards to get us up. Do a couple more on this side. And then we're just going to go into our high oblique sit into tripod. So bring that leg round into your tripod and then lower it back down. When you get into your tripod position, try and make sure that we're nice and flat through the spine, so we're not just rounded through here. So we're going to try and elongate the spine in that tripod position. So you've got a fold on your hip. Try and control the movement as we're lifting up and lowering back down so you don't just land heavily on your bum. So we're really using those supporting hip and pelvic stabilizers. Do a couple more of these and then we'll go into the oblique lift and twist into high kneel, into stand. We'll do it into high kneel first of all and then we'll follow it into standing. So come into your oblique sit. I need to figure out what way I'm turning. Yeah, I'm going that way. So we're going to hinge the hip, lift, turn around, and then bring that leg back round and lower down. Lift, turn. So you really need to use those stabilizers on that supporting side to control that movement back. And try not to land heavily on your knees when you're coming down, because you will just end up hurting your knees. So slowly lower down for a count of 3. And then the next one, we're going to go into the stand. So high kneel to stand. So lift, turn around, make sure your high kneel is set so your pelvis is level with the floor, foot's not too narrow, then knee tracks the second and third toe to stand. Bring the back foot back, slowly down for a count of 3. Bring that leg round into your oblique sit lift. So just in your own time, work through that little sequence. Set your pelvis every time you go to stand and go back into your high kneel. Try and control it back. Yeah, slowly down. Just do a couple more. Okay, so then we are going from this oblique sit position, and you're just going to put your hands in front of you and lift up, come into your quadruped position. Switch your legs to the opposite side, hinge backwards into your oblique sit, and then go forwards. Take your legs to the opposite direction and back. So just alternating the legs from side to side as we go. Do a couple more. And then up into your quadruped position. Find your neutral spine and neutral pelvis. Try and make sure that you're nice and long through the upper back, so whether that's bringing the upper back down towards the floor without losing it into the lumbar extension, or if you're just pushing the floor away to get that length through the spine, if you're a little bit flatter. And then we're just going to hinge the hips backwards, keeping that nice position in the spine, and then hinge forwards, and you're going to carry on transferring the weight over the hands, and then back, we're hinging backwards. And as we're coming forwards, try and make sure that you don't lose your lumbar spine into extension, so we're controlling that movement through the back. So if you start to feel like you're losing your lower back or pelvis when you're going forwards, try and just think about correcting those little micro movements that happen. So just slowly, slowly, slowly go forwards. And slowly back, and try not to let the lower back round as you're going backwards. So we're folding the hip, so think about folding the hip as you go backwards. So you're hinging the hip and then slowly forwards. Slowly back. and then come back into your quadruped, and we're just going to do a little bit of crawling, so a couple of steps forwards, a couple of steps back. So what you need to do is you're going to transfer the weight, so if I'm moving my right hand and left knee forwards, my weight is going into my left hand and my right knee, and I'm going to take the left knee and right hand forwards, and then switch sides, so you're going to transfer the weight into the right hand left knee and take the left hand right knee forwards, and then keep the weight into the right hand left knee and then bring the left hand right knee backwards, and then switch and then come back. So we're just doing 2 forwards, 2 back, controlling that movement. So what you don't want to happen is for the body to just swing everywhere. You want this movement to be just coming from the extremities, so the body doesn't move. Good. And as we're going forwards, keep the feet flat on the floor so your back toes aren't curling under, and we want to keep the hand nice and connected with the floor. So keep the fingers spread wide. Keep the neck nice and long as well, so don't let the neck go into extension. Just do a couple more of these. And then we're going to go up into bear. So find your neutral spine, upper back nice and long, curl the feet under, and you're going to lift your knees off the floor, push the floor away with your hands, so we're keeping active through the shoulders. Keep the hands nice and flat on the floor, and we want to try and keep, as we're lifting, so this is where you're going to need to create a bit more of a brace breath, so that what you don't want to happen is for that pelvis to kind of tilt forwards as you're lifting. So we want to keep control of the pelvis and spine. So knees are coming off the floor, and we're just going to hold this position, try and lengthen through the spine, focus on your breath. If you want, you can just start to crawl a bit forwards as well and back. So 2 steps forwards, 2 steps back, and we're just trying to get this movement coming through the extremities. So the spine stays still, torso stays still. Won't be able to do this for as long, so it's more challenging. So just lower yourself down, give your legs a little shake off, give your arms a little shake off. Then we're going to find our neutral again. So neutral spine, neutral pelvis. Curl the feet under, take a breath in. Long spine, lift the knees, keep the spine nice and long, and then hinge the hips backwards. So we're hinging the hip, folding at the hip, walk the hands backwards into your squat, and we're just going to hold this position. Going to try and challenge you for a little bit. Just hold this squat position. I don't have a stopwatch, unfortunately, so I don't know how long we're timing it for. Just hold that position, so neutral pelvis, neutral spine, try and lengthen through the upper back, focus on your breath, nice and long neck. and then stand. And we're just going to do a few stands to squats and then you're done. So neutral pelvis, neutral spine, lower down, and up. Just in your own time, and then we'll be done. If you want to, you can pause again at the bottom. So just challenge yourself a little bit more and pause it. Just do a couple more. Thinking about your big toe connection, thinking about the weight distribution, making sure we're going straight down, nice and slow. So if you feel like you're shifting to one side, just correct by balancing it out a bit. And we're done.